I would like to give you an overview of a lease. I'm currently on the unit view, and from this unit view you can see here that you can edit a lease. You can edit a lease if you need to change rent amount, late fees, or any other terms regarding a lease. When a lease ends, you need to edit a lease and put in the end date of a lease so additional rent is not added in the future. When you're adding a new lease, you would click the button here that says Add New Lease. I'm going to go ahead and click that and walk you through what happens. The first question is, how often do you collect rent? We currently offer once a month, twice a month, or weekly. So let's start with once a month. You then enter in when the lease starts. Let's use an example of December 1st as a start date. A lease can either be month to month or it can be a fixed term lease. If it's a fixed term lease, you enter in what the end date is. So let's say it's 12/31/2021. If you would like this lease to automatically extend to a month to month after the end date, you click this box to extend it after the end date. You then enter in the lease amount. Let's say the lease amount is $1,000. You select which day of the month the rent is due. So let's say month is due on the 1st of the month. You can also select another day if you're going to collect rent twice a month. The system automatically gives you the option of when to start collecting rent. So in this case, let's go ahead and say we're going to automatically start collecting rent on December 1st. We have many options as far as charging late fees. You can charge any combination of late fees or daily late fees. You can also stack these in any combination so that it matches the rental terms in your lease. Let me give you one example of how this might work. I'm going to click Add Late Fee, and let's say you have a $50 late fee with a 3-day grace period. Here I'm going to select that it's a late fee. You can also put in a custom description here if you'd like. I'm going to enter in that there's 3 days of grace period, and it's a fixed amount of $50. The system will automatically add that $50 after the grace period if rent has not been paid. Let's also add in a daily late fee on top of that. I'm going to click the button that says Daily Late Fee. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say it's a daily late fee, but once again you can add a custom description if you'd like. I'm going to put in 4 days. So what happens is the $50 will be added, and then the following day we'll start adding a daily late fee. So I'm going to say the daily late fee is $10 in this example. You're able to select when that $10 ends. I'm going to go ahead and select that it's just going to add $10 until the end of that month. The repeat frequency, meaning it's going to add that $10 each day. If you need to set a limit on that item, you can also do that. So for instance, I could set a limit saying it's going to add $10 a day until it gets to $150. Once again, you can stack these in any order so that you can make the automatic late fees added match whatever is in your rental agreement. If we charge a tenant rent and that rent bounces because they don't have enough money in their account, you have the option of adding a return fee. So example here, let's say I add $35 as a return fee. The system is automatically going to add that $35 to the tenant's account, and if the tenant pays that, we would transfer that money to your account. Schedule My Rent does not charge either you, the landlord, or the tenant for a return fee, and you as the landlord have the option of charging that tenant a late fee or waiving that. Here on the lease level, you have the option of selecting where money is deposited. So initially, you have an option here of where do you want to put the money we collect for rent and fees. If you leave it as default, it goes to the bank account that you set up for the business. If you don't want to use that default account, you can select a bank account. So for instance, here I'm selecting the Jane 1 bank account, which would be for rent and fees. The next question is, what bank account do you want to put your deposit money in? So if you collect a security deposit from a tenant, you can put that money into a different bank account. Once again, you can leave it as default to where it puts it in the bank account that the business uses, or you can select a specific account based on this lease. The third option is if you're collecting prepaid rent from a tenant. For instance, you're collecting the last month's rent, you can put that money into a different bank account as well. You can select a different bank account, or in this case, I'm going to select the same bank account that you put the security deposit in. We also have an option as far as whether we allow a tenant to make partial payments or not. If this is checked, a tenant is able to make partial payments. If you uncheck it, the tenant only has one option of making a payment. They either have to pay the full amount due, which would include rent plus any other fees, or it would be zero. So they'd have to make a full payment if you don't check this box. For each lease, you're able to select how payments are applied. So you can select that a payment is applied to the oldest amount due first, or you can select to where the payment is applied to rent first and then fees, or you can do fees and then rent. So depending on how you select this, it would potentially change how many late fees are assessed. At the bottom here, you're able to list one or more tenants that are on this lease, or anybody else that's going to be making a payment, such as a parent or guardian. What you do is you put in the first name of the tenant, and the last name of the tenant, and then the tenant's email. If you have more than one tenant, you click the little button here that says Add Tenant, and you can continue to add as many tenants as you need that would be on this lease. Each one of these tenants would receive an email and invite them to sign up. Each of them would also be able to see their own portal and see the status of the lease. For each tenant, there's also an active flag here. If you uncheck the active flag, it makes it to where that tenant cannot make a payment immediately. So right now we have the options of a tenant can pay with their bank account, with a card, or with cash at MoneyGram. So if you uncheck that, it makes it to where the tenant immediately cannot make another payment, which is very useful if you're in the middle of an eviction process. If you filled out this lease partially and you're not done with it, you can save it without inviting the tenants, and then once you're done, you can save and invite. If you have questions, please let us know. Thank you.